Okay, now on to multiplying 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 matrices. And this is as big as it will get for the GCSE further math specification. Now to be honest with this, a bit like on the last video, it's just practicing the technique really. There's nothing complicated here. It's just the first few times you see it, you might be a little bit, it seems a little bit more difficult, but with a bit of practice, you'll get there in no time. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go through a couple of questions. You can see I've got two on the worked examples, and you can try the one on the right hand side. Okay, and this is as big as the matrix multiplication we'll get for the course. Now, we said on the previous video, when you times matrices, you take each of the rows and you times it by each of the columns. So you do the first row with the first column now, then the first row, second column, second row, first column, second row, second column. And we just work through it, being really careful with our time. It's just timesing numbers together. Okay, that's all it is, guys. Let's go over here and begin to open up our matrix. I will try not to write too massive, otherwise it will look really messy. Okay, so let's begin. We take the first row with the first column. So we do 5 times by 1 and write everything out when you first do this. Okay, until you get really good at this, just write things out. So 5 times by 1, done. And then 4 times by 8, and we add it on. So we then go and add on to this 4 multiplied through by 8. Done. Okay, this is like the first term of the matrix. That's your top left number. And then I'm going to do it in a different colour. And no, I'm not, otherwise that will look a bit strange. We then go into, write our first row with the second column. So I do 5 times by 7. And again, write things out really clearly. Leave a gap. 5 times by 7. I'm going to be adding on now 4 times through by 6. Okay, so 4 times 6. There we go, over here. Okay, good. So I've now got the first term and the second term of the matrix. So I've done the first row with the first column, the first row with the second column. Now I do the second row with the first column. So 3 times 1, add 2 times 8. Let's go and do that. So 3 times 1, add 2 times by 8. There we go. Now I go and do the second row with the second column. So 3 times 7, add 2 times 6. Okay, so that's going to be my bottom right term. So 3 times 7, add 2 times through by 6. And now we just simply evaluate each of the terms. We just simplify each part. So 5 times 1 is 5, add 4 times 8 is 32. 5 add 32 gives you 37. Good. Second term, 5 times 7 gives you 35. Add 4 times 6 gives you 24. 35 add 24 gives you 59. Okay, and to be honest, right, when you first do this, probably I would write it out step by step again, but I'm just going to be a little bit brave here and just do it in one go. Okay, and hopefully there's no mistakes. 3 times 1 gives you 3, add 2 times 8, well that's 16. So 3 add 16 gives you 19. Okay, so down here, we've then got 3 times 7, which gives you 21. 2 times 6 is 12. 21, 12, gives you 33. So 33 on the bottom. Okay, and this is simply your answer. That is your answer. Okay, I'm just going to highlight it so we can see really clearly. There we go, and that's the process, right? And once you've done a few practices of these, it becomes really quite straightforward. It's just kind of knowing the process, knowing that you do the rows with the columns. Okay, and you can see here, as you would expect, because you've got a 2 row by 2 column matrix, timesing it by another 2 by 2, the product or the result is simply a 2 by 2 matrix. Okay, so this is also a 2 by 2, as you can see. I'll do one more example, okay, just to show you the process again. If you want to try it, you can do, and pause it. I'll go through this one. It's the same thing, you've just got some negative numbers involved as well. Okay. One thing also to mention, which I did mention previously, is that in general, not always, there's special cases, in general, matrix multiplication is not commutative, i.e. the order does matter. For example, if I call this first matrix matrix A and this one B, okay, I can't say that A times by B is equal to B times A. This is not true. They're not equal in most cases. Not in every case, as you'll see potentially later, but they're not always commutative. Unlike normal multiplication with just your real numbers that you know, where things like, I don't know, 3 times by 4 gives you 12. If you switch the order around and do 4 times 3, it still gives you 12. So you can see here that this is commutative, i.e. the order does not affect your answer, but with matrices, the answer would change. You could try and do it yourself. If you switch these two matrices around, you wouldn't get this answer down here. You'd get something very different. Okay, let's try the bottom one, and let's just work through it really carefully again. No rushing, just taking it step by step. And I'm going to go and do it in blue so we don't mix things up too much. Okay, and let's begin. So we take the first row with the first column. So 2 times by -1, add 3 times 8. So 2 times -1, add 3, multiplied through by 8. That's your first term. You then do the first row with the second column. So 2 times 7, add 3 times -6. So 2 times by 7, add 3. Ooh, it's not very clear, is it? Add 3 times by -6. Good. So I've done the first row, first column, first row, second column. I then do the second row, first column. -4 times by -1, add -5 times through by 8. And just be really careful with your signs here. So you've got -4 times through by -1, and we add to this -5 multiplied through by 8. Okay, good. I then do the second row with the second column, so -4 times by 7, -4 times through by 7, and I add to this -5 times by -6, so -5 times -6. And because this question there's a lot more negatives going on, I'm actually going to go and work through this in another 2 steps, just to make it really careful and clear what is going on. So, it's getting a bit cramped. I'm going to zoom down actually. There we go. Good. Bit more room, which is always useful. So we've got on the first one, 2 times by -1 gives you -2. So -2. And we're adding on to this 3 times 8, which gives you 24. So -2 plus 24. That's your first term. We've then got 2 times 7, which gives you 14. And we're adding on to this 3 times by -6, which will give you -18. Good. I've then got down here -4 times by -1, which will give you +4, because you're timesing 2 negatives. And you're adding on to this -5 times through by 8, which will give you -40. And the last term, you've got -4 times through by 7, which is -28. And then you've got -5 times by -6. You're timesing 2 negatives. We're going to be getting +30 over here. And now we can work through each term. So -2 plus 24 will give you +22. So 22. Your second term, 14 take away 18 will give you -4 over here. 4 take away 40 is -36 down here, so -36. And then we've got -28 plus 30 gives you +2. Okay, 30 take away 28 gives you 2. And this should be the answer. Okay, and that is it. Good. Really good. Now you can try the one on the right, the your try. Okay, so you can give this your turn a go. Can you see all of that? Yeah, you can do. So I'm going to get rid of this over here. You can pause the video and give this one over here a quick try. Good, hopefully you've given that a go, and let's just work through it. Again, the same things before. We're taking the rows and we're timesing through by the columns. Okay, and let's go to this. So, first row, first column, 5 times by 1, and then -3 times by -7. So 5 times through by 1, and we add on to this -3 times by -7. That's your first term. We then do the first row with the second column. So 5 times 0 minus 3 times by 6. So 5 times 0. And then we're adding on to this -3 times through by 6. Good. I then do the second row with the first column. Second row, first column. So I go and do -2 times 1, add -4 times -7. So -2 times 1, add -4 times -7. And then finally, the second row with the second column. So minus 2 times 0, add minus 4 times 6. So minus 2 times 0, add minus 4 times 6. And again, just work through it really carefully. Okay, let's just work through this term by term. So 5 times 1 is 5 up here. And we're adding on to it minus 3 times by minus 7. You're timesing two negatives, so plus 21 over here. So plus 21. The second term, well, 5 times 0 is just 0. And minus 3 times by plus 6 will just give you minus 18. So negative 18 over here. Negative 2 times by 1 will give you minus 2. So minus 2. And we're adding on to this minus 4 by minus 7, which will give you plus 28. So add 28. And last but not least, we've got that will give you 0, timesing through by 0. And minus 4 times by 6 will give you minus 24. So minus 24 down here. And then one more simplification where needed. So you've got 5 add 21, which gives you 26. The minus 18 is just going to be the same thing. Minus 2 add 28 gives you plus 26 again, so 26. And then you've got minus 24 on the bottom. And this is the answer. So if you got that, well done. You can multiply 2 by 2 matrices, and it is just practice. Okay, when you first do this, a little bit strange perhaps, but you'll get it really, really quickly. Okay, and of course, if you need to, you can always rewind and watch the video again where you need to. Good stuff. Thank you.